Welcome to iGUIDE Masterclass. I believe this is number 103. I am Kelly. This is Christopher. We are going to be talking about IRC best practices today. We refer to IRC as the insurance restoration contracting business. So if you hear us say IRC throughout the course of this webinar, that is what we're referring to. Because it's a mouthful. It's a lot of words. So IRC is insurance and restoration contracting. So anybody in the insurance and restoration space. And the goal of this webinar is to give people in that space, you guys, hopefully, who have joined us, some best practices and some tips and some information, because information is power, about how to use iGUIDE in that space. So that's why we're here. I'm probably not going to do as much talking as Chris. I'm just here to introduce and keep him on track and ask questions.
I'm not going to talk, and then you're going to have to do it.
I'm going to do the whole thing. He's excited now. We'll probably talk for about 20-ish minutes, and then we'll answer questions when we're done. So, Christopher, let's get started. Okay, how does one get the most out of iGUIDE?
That's a great question. Before we start, though, I just want to mention a couple things. So, one, our YouTube channel. If you haven't already subscribed, please do.
Yes.
2, Facebook group, iGUIDE 3D Tour Creators group. If you haven't joined it, please do. 3, I know this is insurance restoration, but if you happen to be a real estate photographer and you're watching this anyway, because you just enjoy
us,
the content for its own
or
sake.
Us. Yeah.
The tickets our early bird tickets were available for PMRE.
Oh, yes.
I don't know if they're all gone though. It might be. Well,
you're misquoting yourself. That's a good start.
Sorry.
Okay.
But anyway,
reach out to us and ask.
Yeah.
And we'll let you know.
Or you can go to our website as well.
Or that. Yeah.
So that's the photography for real estate, photography and media for real estate. Oh, PMRE.
It's media. Media.
Anyway, it's in November. It's very cool. We're going to sponsor it. So if you want to meet us there, buy a ticket.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now we can start.
I'm also realizing this is a really crappy backdrop. Like, why do we have this here?
It's not crappy. It's cool.
Okay.
It's rugged.
It is what it is. All right, Christopher.
Okay.
What do we do with iGUIDE when it comes to insurance and an insurance claim? How do we maximize technology?
It's a good question. So I am not in the insurance and restoration industry personally.
No,
I work here.
Yeah.
But I do know ways to use our technology to get better results in a situation that is not, for marketing purposes, like something obviously a situation where you're documenting a space,
yes,
in order to capture details, that aren't attractive. They're related to a loss or damage of some sort. So
tell us, what are those ways? So
I'm going to give you some tips on how to do that. I forget how many, 7, 5?
Well, yes, 7.
7 tips. It's a nice even number. Tip number 1 is related to capture. It's kind of 2 things, right?
Yep.
I think that's what I wrote. So often what people do with our technology is that they get into a space and they kind of capture the minimum amount of scans and then they book it. They leave. So
out of there.
So usually when you're trying to capture, a really comprehensive set of data, like more data is better. So that means that there's no harm, except for your own time, obviously the cost associated with that. There's no harm in capturing as many scans as you can, get. So that means that more than one per room is beneficial, and then maybe even beyond. So there's really good reasons why you would want to do more than one scan per room. Our advanced measurement tool, specifically Measure Mode 3, requires multiple scans to basically triangulate for on-screen measurements. So the more scans you have, the more accurate your measuring after the fact will be.
Yeah.
So that just means that the data that you've captured is more valuable because you can get more measurements out of it later. So that's awesome. Also, there's sort of, and this relates to the next kind of part of this, there's a certain amount of proximity required to get good visuals on stuff, which is a fancy way of saying get the camera close to things that are important.
Right.
And that means if you plop the camera in the center of the room and scan it, you're going to see the windows and doors and the drywall that's cut out the fire damage in the ceiling or whatever. But if you can get the camera closer to that thing, you're going to get better visuals on it. It's not going to necessarily help or hinder the measurement data per se, but it definitely will allow you to see more details because the camera is physically, closer to the thing that you're trying to look at.
Right.
So as another part of that, it's okay to do almost like a hybrid. So quite frequently, especially for insurance claims, there's a thing that's damaged. Maybe the flood damage is what we'll refer to. So there's, sort of an area where, the interior structure, the drywall and the studs and whatever are water damaged. So what you would want to do is rather than just create a whole bunch of scans everywhere, you'd want to be clustering your scans near that thing that's important to you, which would be closer to the wall so that you can see it better.
Right.
So lots of scans, don't hold back, and put your scans close to the thing that's important to you or things, and also scan, lots of scans near the things that are important to you. It's enough to get it close, but then you might want 2 or 3 additional scans on either side to capture extra data. The neat thing about capturing data, fun fact with a 360 camera, is that there's no composition, right? You're just capturing everything.
Yes.
So you never really know what you're going to get. You're casting a wide net, and you can cast that net, if you'll permit me to use a metaphor.
You're allowed.
You can cast that net as many times as you want. So it's pretty neat.
Yeah. I mean, I think the other thing that you can keep in mind is that because you're not sharing this for the marketing of a home, you're sharing it for data capture specifically to make decisions about it after the fact. And in some cases, you don't always have access to the property after the first time you go. Don't be afraid to take scans that are higher or lower than the regular scans that you're taking to capture the walls so that we can draft the space and show a representation of the space. For example, if you have some sort of plumbing issue that has happened and you need to get underneath the sink, your regular scans are not necessarily going to be at floor level, but you could have an additional scan with doors open, take it at a higher level, a lower level. That's going to show up. It's going to look the same on the floor plan in terms of the scan, the panorama position, but it's for you to interpret the data and to have the data at your fingertips to make the right decisions, whether it's in the moment or months down the line, because claims can take a lot longer to process and to close out. So you want to get as much information while you have access as possible. And it doesn't necessarily need to look pretty as long as you know what it is and what you're doing with it, right? So, yeah. All right, next. We have what else can we do on site? We have released a relatively newish feature this year. What else can we do on site to capture the data that we need to process the claim?
Like have lunch or what's the next one? Oh, real-time tagging.
Yes.
So adding tags is awesome because it allows you to take the iGUIDE and create an enormous amount of depth in the information and make it even more comprehensive. And tags can be anything you want.
Whoa.
Right? Whoa.
Comprehension.
Comprehensive. Just going to keep saying that word. It sounds good, right? So, yeah. So images, video, text, titles, and you can place them anywhere in 3D space. That's what a tag is, if you didn't know. So the difference with tags and real-time tags is that real-time tags can be added on site. And they're very, very fast. And there are a lot of cool gadgets that you can use on site in this scenario, like moisture meters and FLIR cameras, and then just your camera, like your cell phone. And you can add specific information and get much closer to tell the story of that loss. So.
Yes.
The moisture meter is like the easiest one, right? Because if you, rather than like record what the moisture meter said, you just put it where it's supposed to go, take a picture, add as a tag, you're done. It's like, what, 10 seconds or something?
Yeah.
It's so fast. It's crazy.
So fast.
So that is invaluable. And tags aren't new. They've been around for ages, but the ability to add them
on site, yeah,
when you're there right at the very thing is like fantastic. It's so fast and it's so incredible. And they get passed through to the final iGUIDE with zero effort. They're just that's it. You shoot it on site, and then it appears in the iGUIDE later, and you can access that data. There are probably a lot of possibilities that we have never thought of for real-time tagging. Clever ways to use it beyond just a moisture meter. So it's kind of neat. It's such a flexible tool. You can add anything you want on site as long as it's text, image, or title. So that could be all sorts of weird stuff. Like you could photograph data plates, manuals. What else? Window.
Just additional damage, right? Like you're not necessarily going to take panoramas of every. You want to take panoramas to capture data with the iGUIDE camera to get as much of the comprehensive information as possible, but a still image is still really valuable. And so lots of cases, you're taking additional still images from different angles to hone in and really get closer to whatever that damage is. And you can now do that on site in the exact moment that you're taking the pano. You don't have to take the photos and then wait and do it after the fact. You still have that option. That option hasn't been removed, and your tags can be edited after the fact as well. But for you to not have to think about, oh crap, now I have to find that tag, I can just put it in now. I can add the photos now. I can do it all now. It really saves you mental space and actual time after the fact and when you're processing.
Awesome. Yeah. Saves you time.
That's iGUIDE, saving you time and money. Time is money. There you go. Okay. So yet another thing on site that we can do, apart from real-time tagging, and that is.
Oh, on-site upload. Okay.
Saving you time.
So this is not, I shouldn't say it's not widely known. I don't think it's used as often as maybe it could be, but you can, you have the ability to export directly from the camera to the smart device that you're capturing it with. So suppose for a moment that smart device has like a cellular connection. It's just your phone or whatever.
Yeah.
You can
tablet. Yeah.
Export, like you can skip stitch completely. You can export to your phone and then upload to the portal like from site, like when you're standing there.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's kind of crazy. Like
with your tags.
If you order an iGUIDE, and all the tags and everything. So if you order an iGUIDE while you're standing there, this is even cooler. You're going to get an iGUIDE preview probably before you leave. Like it takes a few minutes to process depending on the size. So if it's just the first floor of a property, it's not very big. It won't take very long, right? If it's a bigger property, it might take longer. But that means that you could see a very reasonable approximation of what you're going to get from the final drafted iGUIDE before you've even left.
Yeah.
Like that's nuts. So that's a really powerful tool. I think for insurance reasons, I think it's really great because it allows you to figure out if you got what you need right then and there, and then you could go capture more if you didn't have enough.
It's a feedback tool for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a very achievable thing to do. I don't think a lot of people do it just because their workflow is such that they go out, they shoot, they kind of go home. But I could see situations where you have to capture a property, and then you're not necessarily in a huge rush. Your next shoot isn't 5 minutes from now, so you might have the time to just upload it on site and have a look. And then based on that, not only can you see it to review, you can also publish the preview and share it. So that means that if the person waiting for that data is sitting somewhere, they could get it while you're still at the property. And so they could this sounds really cool.
It is really cool.
They could call you and say, hey, you're missing a closet. And you could say, whoa, let me go get it.
Yeah.
And then you could just do that. That's bonkers.
So explain that a little bit more in terms of, this is what we call the pre-publishing and publishing the preview. So you kind of introed it, but give a little bit more detail to explain to the viewers. Okay. What is that? Where are those things?
More detail, loud and clear. So
how do we do this? How do we get this? What does it look like?
All right, I'll explain on-site upload first, and then I'll talk about iGUIDE preview. So on-site upload is there's a function in Survey where once you think you're done, you go and you look at your project list. There's a button that you tap. I don't remember what it is, but what it does is it exports to exports the file onto the camera, and then you push a button and it'll download it to your phone. It's like a two-step kind of thing. It takes very little time. It's very easy to do. So once you have that on your phone, then what you would do is you would just, from your smart device, I should say, in case you have a cellular connected iPad, you would connect to our portal and it's just a website. You just upload like you would normally and create an iGUIDE.
Yes.
iGUIDE Preview is available right now in beta for free for any iGUIDE you create. So if you create one, you're going to see an extra button that appears that says it's in preview. And when you click on that button, it'll allow you to publish that preview if you want. You don't have to publish it at all. You can just look at it on the portal if you like.
Yes.
If you publish the preview, the URL will populate, like as in if you put in the virtual tour URL, you would see that version of the tour until the final drafted version is ready. So that means that if you publish the preview, you're still getting your full iGUIDE later once it's been properly looked at and QA'd by a drafts person. But the initial preview will be available like nearly instantly. And then you can, if you want, you can share it just like a regular iGUIDE. You can send the report to somebody or the link or whatever you want.
Yeah.
Keep it for yourself. Don't share it with anybody.
Don't keep it to yourself. Yeah. Share it around. Sharing is caring. Preview we announced earlier in the year because this is our, introduction to kind of AI, because it is obviously AI drafted. So the other part of this is if you see a preview and it looks kind of funky, don't worry. It's not going to look like that forever. In those cases, you maybe don't want to publish it because it means that the AI didn't understand how to handle the data, which is totally okay. It's still going to get to a drafter if you've selected, standard premium options, and it will get delivered within our SLAs. But it's pretty, the title is pretty explanatory. It's a preview of what you could get with the final product, depending on how well the AI processed the data. And it is a very valuable tool for a lot of reasons. All right. So that's preview. What about pre-publish? What does it mean to pre-publish an iGUIDE? And why is this important in the insurance space? Should I prompt you?
You asking me? I don't know.
Yeah. So essentially, we have different options. So the iGUIDE in the residential real estate space is designed to be marketing an entire property, whereas with the insurance space, you don't necessarily want to document the whole property. And that means that if you have missing spaces, you might not care and you might want it published anyways with those missing spaces because you had no intention of capturing all those spaces. You want what was captured delivered to you as the final product.
But why does this exist? Why would I care if there's spaces missing?
So in different industries, sometimes, again, if you're not, if you didn't have the ability to capture a full space, so again, a whole floor plate in residential real estate, if you missed a bedroom, you might not want that sent to your final customer because you might want to go back, or you might not have realized that you missed a room. If you were going really quickly, lots of stuff can happen when you're on site at a house. Lots of chaos, as you well know, Chris. So maybe you missed a walk-in closet, some kind of large enough space that our drafting team is saying this isn't a full floor plan, this isn't a full floor plate. So we stick it in a pre-publishing state so that you get to make a decision whether you want to publish as is with that missing space, or if you want to go back and capture additional data for us to draft and then send as a full floor plan. So you have the ability to skip that pre-published state. So it's like a waiting space. So if you are in an industry where you're not interested in a full floor plan and you want just the rooms drawn that you capture, maybe that's a hallway and 2 bedrooms, maybe that's just a kitchen. You can skip the pre-publishing and you can go straight to the publish with just the rooms that you've captured. So that's within your ability as well. We give lots of options.
That makes sense.
I hope so.
I'm going to switch these two.
Go ahead.
All right. We're going to jump to 6. We're skipping 5.
Skipping. We'll come back. Yeah.
You have the ability when you create an iGUIDE to choose the industry that iGUIDE is
industry selector
associated with it. So it's right on the create page at the very top.
Yeah.
If I had the wherewithal to do things properly, I would have loaded that up for a screen share, but trust me, it's on the create page probably. Cool. Yeah. So anyway, you can choose your industry. So the industry selector has effects on what you get, the settings applied to your iGUIDE when it's ready.
Yes.
So if you're in insurance and restoration, typically you don't want your iGUIDEs being public, because why would you? Like, you don't want them indexed on Google. You don't want people searching for the addresses. So even if it's a house or a commercial property, you should choose insurance when you choose the industry dropdown, because what that will do is that will automatically put the iGUIDE into protected mode so that no one can see it. It'll just automatically make it so a login is required to view it. And this is good because you don't want people seeing that stuff usually.
Confidentiality, privacy is important. Mm-hmm.
We're aware that it's a bit confusing because if you're doing a normal house, it would look or appear as though residential would be the correct choice, but it's not. Residential is more like residential real estate marketing.
Mm-hmm. I want to sell a house or rent a house. That's what that's for.
Yeah. And so
it's not necessarily the property type. It's where do you live? Where does your business exist? If you're not selling or renting a home, don't pick residential.
There is a link, I think, next to it that gives a detailed breakdown of
I believe
that.
So there's probably,
if you have questions,
learn more.
Click that. That's pretty great. So now we're going to go back to 5, number 5.
Back it up.
Yeah. And that is iGUIDE Radix. So before, when I said, oh my gosh, it's so cool, you could see on site exactly what you've got. You already had the ability to do that before a preview anyway, because
to a degree
you can shoot a radix. But the benefit of a radix, and the reason that it exists, and the reason that it's relevant for insurance and restoration purposes, is that a radix tour gives you an iGUIDE experience with sort of like a map on the left and the 360 visuals on the right. But the map is just made of the LiDAR data. It's just pure point cloud data.
Yes.
So with scan positions, obviously. So the reason that's cool, and the feature that's built in there that was meant to be used by insurance, was finding scanning the parts of the property that are relevant, and then clicking the little there's a download button, and when you click it, it will download that point cloud for you so that you can draw over top of it in Xactimate. So that's pretty cool. That means that you can go and you can capture like really robust, comprehensive measurements, and then you can bring that into Xactimate and then draw on it like as it's an underlay. You can draw over top of it.
Right. The other thing that has come up recently is a reminder of some of the applications of Radix. So if you are dealing with an insurance claim where it's just exterior damage, so you're not going to be gaining entry into the interior of the space, that's what you'd also want to use Radix for, because
Radix is good for that. Yeah.
Yeah, because essentially if you upload data to our drafters and you don't have any scans of the inside of a space, they're going to reject it. So if you know that in advance and it's just exterior damage, you're capturing all the windows, or, a car hit a house, I don't know, whatever that looks like, you're just going to capture the exterior space as an example. And then you can upload that as a Radix. You don't need to deal with the iGUIDE side of it. You can just have the Radix and the scans. So no drafting. You're using it for visual representation purposes in that case. All right.
Last one. Number 7. This is the most important one.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course. Right. Look.
Right with bang.
When you're out there at a fire or flood claim.
This felt like a story.
We're going full narrative here. You're out in the field.
The drama.
You're tired. You're dirty. I don't know why you'd be dirty.
Yeah.
Maybe you're dirty.
You're dirty. You're hardworking, so you must be dirty.
You got to go to like a bunch of properties in a day, and you're tired, and you don't really feel like working in Xactimate. Then don't. You can order an ESX from us, and we'll just draw it for you.
Saving you time and money.
So when you create an iGUIDE, there is an option, a checkbox. You can check it, and we will draw the ESX for you. And I'm sure you probably already all know this. I hope. If you didn't, great. I'm glad that I just told you. But
yes,
there are different types of ESXs. That's kind of what I wanted to
what are the differences?
Great question. So we've got a different type of ESX depending on the iGUIDE package that you order. So if you order a standard iGUIDE, you're going to get an ESX that has standard features. And if you order a premium iGUIDE, you're going to get an ESX that has premium features. So
what are the premium features?
They're the same as the iGUIDE, right?
No.
What was it? I forget. Oh, no, it's fixtures. There's fixtures, right?
We don't add in water fixtures.
Not water. It's like fireplaces. I was just looking at pictures before.
Yeah, so we will add in countertops.
Cabinets. That's what it was.
Yeah. That's a big one.
That was close.
We don't include water features at this point in time.
Not fixtures. Forget I said that. That didn't happen.
Yeah.
So I wrote down how to order during creation or after the fact.
So you have the ability to either, when you're creating the iGUIDE, order the ESX file, or you have the ability to simply enable it. If you're not sure if you want it right now, you can enable it, and then you can always order it after the fact.
Yes.
So if you know you need it, go ahead and order it. If you're not sure, you can always order it later. So that was that last little piece.
And fun fact, you can always upgrade any of your iGUIDEs later.
Yes.
So
to premium, add-ons, all of the things.
If you decide that standard isn't cutting it and you really want that premium iGUIDE, you can always go upgrade it.
And I mean, for example, if you shoot one floor of the house and then realize later, oh crap, there's actually damage on the second floor of the house. Again, if it's water, I don't know what it could be. You can always, you don't have to create a new iGUIDE. You can always send the data to us to update that existing iGUIDE and add, whether it's additional rooms or additional floors or additional scans. You don't have to create a brand new iGUIDE for that. You can do that after the fact too.
So we're out of stuff.
We are. We arrived at the end of our list, so now we're ready for questions.
Yeah.
So let's read some of these questions. So John,
I did see one that I could answer actually. How are you adding the photos on the fly to the tag? Your cell phone? Yes.
Yeah. You can capture it with your cell phone. Oh, look at that, Jenny. Oh, love you.
Yeah, that was cool. So yeah, you can take your cell phone and in the tag interface, there's like a camera icon, and you tap it, and then you just use your camera, snap a photo.
Yes.
It gets added to the tag. The cool thing, fun fact, you can add as many photos as you want to a tag. So not just one. And that's convenient if you've got like a furnace with like a bunch of different data plates or an inspection tag or whatever. You want to capture a bunch of things. Yeah, it's fine. You can do that. There is a limit
What's the limit?
Well, there is no limit on the number of images that you can add, but there is a limit on how much data you can move around. So every image is like, I don't know, it depends on your phone, I guess, but
yeah,
some number of megabytes. So if you add a whole bunch of tags, just remember you have to shuffle all that data around later. So if you get really excited and you add like 100 images, you're going to increase the size of the amount of data you have to move, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay. And then it sounds like between John and David, they answered their own question.
Well, I'll answer it out loud.
Okay, go for it. Yeah.
Makes me look like I'm engaged.
So do you want me to read the John one?
Yeah, you read.
Does a notation need to be made when you're changing heights? I assume we're talking about heights of the scan.
Oh, camera. Yeah. No,
that's my assumption. Correct me if I'm wrong.
But you will, we recommend that you keep the camera at the same height throughout areas where you want to be using the measure tool.
Right.
On screen. So if you change the heights, it will affect the measurement uncertainty. So you want to keep it at the same level for instances of, multiple scans within a space that you're going to be using to use measure mode 3 and 2 as well.
So that was, I'm sure, with reference to the fact that I said, don't be afraid to take scans of like lower or higher to capture different elements of damage. So that would be in addition to your regular scans, because if you do want a proper floor plan drawn, we need to have good data for the drafters to work with. But again, because it's humans looking at the draft data, they can tell this, whatever scans are at a lower height or a higher height, they can obviously tell. So as long as you have good data for the rest of the regular heights, you're fine. And you don't need to note it necessarily unless you want to for yourself.
As far as IMS 6 versus IMS 5, everything we've suggested is possible for IMS 5, but not real-time tagging. That's right. That's IMS 6 only. Yes.
Yeah. Any other questions? That's all I see in there. Okay. Well, we've wrapped up another masterclass. Oh, for an exterior shoot. How do you charge for square footage?
We don't.
We don't.
So
yeah, it's
the
a
billable
per scan basis.
Yeah, it depends. So if you're shooting a radix, you get billed per scan, 75 cents or $1, but on top of the base fee. But then the exterior scans have no relevance to billable area for iGUIDE standard premium. So
correct.
The only thing that you get billed for is interior space that is drawn above and below grade. It's important to note. We often report the total square footage of a house as above grade only, but billable area includes everything that's drawn. It's also important to note that billable area can include any building that is drawn. So
anything that gets drafted is charged.
So if you go out and you shoot like an 8,000 square foot barn, even though it's a big box, you'll still get billed for the drafting of that.
Yeah. But when I was talking about the radix and the exterior options, the radix has a different billing scheme. So there's a standard fee, no matter if there's 2 scans or 1 scan or 14. I believe it's 20 scans minimum. So you're charged that minimum, and then it's depending on whether you're in Canada or the US, it's a per scan cost on top of the 20 scan minimum.
There's another question. How long does it take to get the measurements?
Yeah.
They appear on screen. That's so cool.
I don't know. Technology.
It's a good question. So the whole iGUIDE standard or premium is next business day. iGUIDE preview does not include measurements, so you get it instantly, but there's no measurements associated with it. iGUIDE radix, same thing. You get it right away, but there's no measurements.
No measurements.
Other types of measurements take a little longer. So ESX will take a little bit longer after the iGUIDE is produced, and so will our new DWG or AutoCAD format as well. That one's up to 48 hours, but iGUIDE is next business day. Yep.
Okay. Any other questions before we close it out? We have one more class this masterclass season before we take our summer break. So 2 weeks from now.
So what number is this?
103. I believe it's 103.
Okay. Another question. How do I download an iGUIDE file so it completely resides in my CPU? It's a great question. So you can download the iGUIDE offline as soon as it's been completed by going to the iGUIDE report, looking
download section.
At the download section. You'll see an offline iGUIDE. There's also a button in the portal. You can click that as well. But I always think of it as living in the report. But there's basically a link on our portal that you can get from either one, the report or the portal. Or when you click it, it will download a zip file containing all the assets, web files, and everything for the iGUIDE. And then you can keep that wherever you want.
Yep. If you want some instructions, you can log into the support portal, and we have a knowledge base article that you can just search for, or you can create a ticket and just ask for the how do I download an offline iGUIDE.
Yep.
And the support team will share a knowledge base article, affectionately known as a KBA.
They love sharing those.
Yeah. We created them for you guys. Easy instructions. Yeah.
So fun fact about offline iGUIDEs. They contain everything that you put in the iGUIDE. So tags, images, everything.
Branding.
Links to videos, but they're not videos. They're just links. Branding, the whole 9 yards. But they're like a snapshot in time. So if you download an offline iGUIDE, then you go on the portal and you make a bunch of changes, it will not match the one you downloaded because the one on the portal will be different. So you have to download it again.
Yes. Any changes equals new offline iGUIDE.
So it's almost like an archival thing. Like you put it offline and then you kind of keep it, or you accept the fact that if you did make changes, you'd have to go and
do it again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. David Frank says, talk about stitch and capture feature. I'm not exactly sure what you mean.
Nope.
David,
sorry.
Literally the stitching that's done is done by the camera itself. You don't have to do anything. Capture is ridiculously simple when compared to other systems. It's a camera where you connect via smart device and you basically push one button a bunch of times in the property, and every time you push that button, the camera does a thing. It's going to capture in 360 It's going to stitch all the images together. You don't have to do anything. And it's going to measure the space with the LiDAR. And it's going to appear on the screen, and you just move the camera to another location and keep pushing that button. The only real difference between doing a small property and a giant property is that you just push the button more at a bigger property.
Take more scans. And again, you can do the on-site uploading, which means you're skipping stitch as long as you are making sure that the property is aligned. So making sure that there's line of sight, and then making sure your property is aligned before you upload it.
Snapshots. I don't know exactly what you mean, David, but I will speak to snapshots.
Okay.
As I know them, because we have something called a snapshot in Stitch.
Yes, I think that's what he's talking about.
Capturing images from 360s is really useful. It's very handy. And Stitch has a built-in feature where you can click the little camera icon, and it will load up this little interface, and you can look anywhere you want in an interactive 360 and click a button, and it will save it as a JPEG for you. The best part about that is that it has a little zoom, like a field of view slider. And when you use that, you can basically like zoom out. So what happens with 360 cameras in general, or just creating like virtual walkthroughs or whatever we call them now, is that people often put whatever they're called now, people put the camera in the middle of the room, right? But that doesn't make for very good photos often. It makes them look weird. So sometimes it's nice to be able to just kind of back out a little bit. So this is where camera position is relevant to the final output in a different way. So, we always talk about like, oh, you use the camera and you capture spaces and you want to create this thing. So for insurance and restoration, it's a good idea to get the camera close to things so that you can take snapshots as well, right, from the tour, because you won't have to zoom in as much, or you'll have more room to zoom in, if that makes any sense. And that means that capturing the whole space means that you would back the camera back out. So you might get closer to the details, and you might back the camera up to get a sense of the whole space and the sort of bigger picture when it comes to looking at whatever damage is there.
Where do they live once they're captured?
Great question. They are saved locally on your computer in a folder in the original project folder, and it's called snapshots. So
logical.
It's a bit funny when you're in Stitch and you click like the icon and you click the button to take a picture, take a snapshot, a little notification comes up. It shows you where it saved it. It'll give you the path. But it's quick. You might just miss it, right? So wherever you're keeping your original project folder, they're just saved in there. It just tosses them all in and automatically numbers them like 1 to whatever. So if you go in there and you see a whole bunch of JPEGs, you just made those. Every time you click that button, it just writes a JPEG of whatever it is that you're looking at in that take snapshots interface.
Does that automatically get uploaded to the iGUIDE gallery?
No, it does not. It does not. They'll sit on your computer.
I knew the answer
and languish.
To that question.
Yes, this comes up. Well, it used to come up frequently.
Yeah, but just so you guys know, you're going to have a folder of these images that you took, but they don't automatically get transferred into the iGUIDE gallery. So you still have to take the extra step to putting them into the iGUIDE gallery if you want them to be visible in the iGUIDE itself, of course.
Well, that's a good question. John asks, when shooting an exterior job, should I just use one side of the lens? No.
I wouldn't.
But there's two benefits to shooting in a certain way. Well, it's not two benefits. There's probably several to shooting in a certain way. Okay, so when you're using the camera, the lens opposite the controls is the initial starting angle. Does that sound right? Yeah. Okay, so if you place the camera down and you are looking at the camera and you're seeing the power button and the USB drive, the opposite side, so the lens on the opposite side of you is looking at the thing that will be the very first thing that people see when they load up the tour.
Okay, sure, yeah.
So for convenience sake, when you're shooting exteriors, you should point that toward the house, because otherwise every time you click a scan, you're going to have to move the whole thing over and then look at the house, because it'll be looking away from it. So that's one thing I would recommend. And then the other thing is because if you do that, what happens is the lens center, which is the sharpest part of the lens, will be pointing directly at the thing that matters to you, which I'm presuming is the building. If it's not, then you can point it wherever you want, wherever the thing is that you think is important. But ideally with the theta, right, you've got two lenses, one on either side. And the weakest part of the whole 360-degree image is the stitching between the two lenses.
These two sides.
These are lenses.
Yeah.
So you want the lens
spaces.
center to be pointing toward the thing that is important to you. And that's true for anything that you do ever, whenever you're shooting anything in life.
In life.
In life.
In life. Traffic crash.
Yeah, well, a traffic crash is going to have like lots of details in an area and then nothing elsewhere. So yeah, you would always be pointing the lens, in the direction. You don't have to angle it down, but you would keep it level and then sort of face the camera, if that makes any sense. The controls facing you, and then the opposite side lens facing the details that you're interested in. If you're documenting the crash, and you're not just in it.
Well, I hope not. I hope not.
Okay, cool.
Lots of good questions.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Are we done?
Yeah, I think so.
I was on a roll there.
Yeah, we got a good few happening. Got us on
Oh, we're good. Yeah, okay, we'll call it there. Awesome. Thanks everybody for showing up. I'm going to mention it again. Subscribe to our YouTube channel.
So serious.
Join because you have to engage. Join our Facebook group.
Yes.
And if you're into real estate, investigate PMRE tickets.
Yes.
Find us something. That's good. Look at that.
Technology.
Tight shit.
Thanks for joining us. We will have a recording available, and we'll share it once it's available. And we'll see you in 2 weeks.